Paleontologists just revealed what's probably the find of the year, if not the decade: the mummified cub of a saber-toothed cat. The mummy is 32,000 years old and was found in Siberian permafrost back in 2020 and was revealed today in the journal Scientific Reports in an open access article, which means you can read it for free, and I will leave a link in the comments. I won't lie, this paper made me kind of emotional. This poor little cub was only 3 weeks old when it died, and while that is very sad, it's also incredibly exciting that we have it. This is the first time we've ever found any soft tissue from a saber-toothed cat, let alone a mummy, and that is a big deal. You see, despite commonly being called saber-toothed tigers, saber-toothed cats aren't actually very closely related to modern cats in the scheme of things. All modern cats, including the big cats and our own domestic cats, belong to the family Felinae, while the saber-toothed cats belong to their own family, the Machairodontinae. The Machairodontine cats include animals like Megantereon, Homotherium, which is what the new cub is a specimen of, and of course the famous Smilodon. Aside from being in a different family, saber-toothed cats also had substantial anatomical differences from modern cats. Aside from the obvious saber teeth, they also had proportionately longer, more downturned skulls, longer legs and necks, shorter bodies, and much more heavily muscled necks and shoulders. These were animals built for taking down very large prey through brute strength. These differences and the fact that they belong to a separate, completely extinct family has meant there's always been a little uncertainty about what saber-toothed cats would have actually looked like in life. Obviously they would have looked like cats, but just how similar they would be to modern big cats has always been a little up in the air. Which is why this cub is such a holy grail for paleontologists and paleoartists like me, because this shows us what saber-toothed cats looked like in life, at least when they were little. And even at just 3 weeks old, there are already some really interesting differences between this cub and the cub of a modern lion. Let's start with the paws. First off, we got claws and we got beans. We got toe beans, and they're very different. You can see the saber-toothed cat's paws are almost round. They are much wider than the lion's paws, and its toe beans are almost squared off rather than being the oval beans of a modern lion. These are all adaptations for walking around in a cold climate, especially in snow. It basically had snowshoes. Its forelimbs are about 20% longer in comparison to its body than the forelimbs of a 3-week-old lion cub. And then there's the head and neck. Again, we see the classic saber-toothed cat features. The saber-toothed cub's neck is longer than the lion cub's neck, and more than twice as thick. It is incredibly muscular. The coat is comparatively very shaggy, and the ears are smaller on the saber-toothed cub than in the lion cub, both of which make sense. This is an animal living in a colder climate. And then there's the head. Even at 3 weeks old, look how different the shapes of their heads are. This one, the saber-tooth, has that distinctive head shape that the adults have, that large downturned snout. It's got a wider mouth than the lion cub and a deeper chin to accommodate the saber teeth, which haven't grown in yet in this guy. After all, it was only 3 weeks old. But that brings us to these. The saber-toothed cub has these big tufts of fur growing around the corners of its mouth that we don't see in any modern cats, and they raise a lot of questions. Given their location, are they for the saber teeth? Were they furry sheaths that helped protect the teeth? And if so, did all saber-toothed cats have them, or was this a feature unique to Homotherium? At this point, with a sample size of 1, we just don't know, but the fact that we even have a mummy to show us this feature at all is so cool. While it is very, very sad that this poor sweet little thing died so young, it's also incredibly exciting that we even have it. This little cub is going to tell us so much that we never could have known before. And that is a thrill, especially as a paleo artist. I cannot wait to see the second life that this little cub is going to have, thanks to all the amazing artists out there. There's already art starting to circulate online, and I know I'm going to make my own at some point in the near future. So rest well, little cub. Your life might have been cut far too short, but your story is just beginning, and I cannot wait to see where it leads.
So I've had multiple people say, "Oh, I can't wait for that saber-toothed cat cub to be cloned," or asking, "Are we going to be able to clone it? When are we cloning it?" And Unfortunately, the answer is we're not. That's not going to happen.
The first issue is that while we do have DNA from Homotherium and some other saber-toothed cats, and we can get DNA from this cub, it's all very, very degraded. It is just too broken down and too incomplete to use. We would need a lot more than what we have. I mean, as it is, the fact that we have a complete genome for woolly mammoths is kind of a minor miracle. Which brings us to the second issue, because I'm on the record as someone who is very, very skeptical of all these claims by Colossal that they're going to clone woolly mammoths. I think there are too many logistical issues. I think there's too much sketchy stuff with it. I don't believe it's going to happen, but at least on paper it's feasible, because you can't just grow a clone in a test tube. Something has to actually carry the fetus to term, and at least with mammoths, they have a very close modern relative to do so, Asian elephants. That isn't going to happen with the saber-toothed cub, because you have to remember, while Homotherium and the other saber-toothed cats are cats, they're a completely separate family from all modern cats. They're just too distantly related to be cloned and carried to term by a modern cat. Frankly, you'd have better luck trying to get a domestic cat to carry a lion to term, because at least they're the same family. And, that's not going to happen, so there's no way a modern cat is going to be able to carry a saber-tooth. And that's why finds like this little cub are so important, because they're the closest we are ever going to get to seeing these animals when they were alive. And even in death, mummies like this can tell us so much and really give us a good sense of what their lives were like. It's not the same as seeing them alive and in the flesh, but it is seeing them in the flesh, and that is really cool in its own right.
And hey, their modern relatives are just as cool in their own right.
And just as cuddly, yeah. Oh, goodness, hi, sweetie.